Business lessons from Moses. Moses in the Bible is one of the greatest leaders in our opinion. The way he led the people of Israel from grass to grace needs to be studied. Well, that's what this lesson is centered on. In modern day terms, Moses could be said to have been a governor or president or a monarch. He was the overseer of the people of Israel. Running a country can be likened to running a business on a larger scale, and in our opinion, Moses was excellent at it. I mean, how do you explain the fact that he gave these people rules that we are still reciting thousands of years later? It could only be greatness. Now to the business lessons. Number 1. If a business idea fails the first time, tweak the business model and try again. Moses knew he was called to the business of saving the Israelites and getting them released from slavery. It was what he was born for in his opinion, so it wasn't surprising that when he saw an Egyptian fighting an Israelite, he killed the Egyptian. His business model here was violence. Perhaps if he was able to get enough Israelites on his side who would do the fighting, they would set themselves free from the Egyptians in no time. Now that he had shown them that killing an Egyptian was not a hard thing to do, he probably felt that hiring staff that keyed into the free the Israelites vision would be easier. Unfortunately for Moses, the opposite happened. No one was willing to associate with such a business model, and they avoided him and his business and even hated him because of that, both the Israelites and the Egyptians. Moses then had to run for his life because Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was after him for killing one of his men. He ran away from being a savior and settled for being a shepherd. Sheep have no trouble, you know. Anyways, a few years down the line, we see Moses attempting the job of savior again, but this time with the backing of the one who called him to save. They planned how there would be plagues and how Pharaoh was going to be stubborn until there was the death of all Egyptians' firstborns. This strategy worked and got the Israelites out of Egypt. Therefore, business owner, if your business idea fails the first time, it doesn't always mean that it's a bad idea. It could just mean that another business model is required to execute it. You could meet with a mentor or someone who has gone ahead in that industry and tweak your business model. Number 2. Great CEOs separate emotions from the business. This is not to say that they are not compassionate. In fact, they are. But they do not show biases because they like a staff better or a staff is a family member, etc. When Moses killed the Egyptian that was fighting the Israelites, the good book never tells us that he asked why the fight began in the first place. He just showed that the Egyptian was fighting the people he was called to save and went on to kill the Egyptian in an attempt to save the Israelites. Perhaps that was why the business model did not work. It was built on bias. Would Moses have been justified to kill the Israelite if the Egyptian was the one in the right? No, he would not. Great CEOs have to learn to control their emotions and settle issues with external stakeholders objectively. Number 3. Great CEOs recognize that every experience is a learning opportunity. When Moses' savior business experienced a crash, he took his loss and went to try something else. He became a shepherd. Now, there's something with being a shepherd and becoming a great leader later, because look at King David as well. But that's a discussion for another day. Moses, who knew that he was called to lead people, humbled himself to be a leader of sheep. It was in doing this that he found his calling. From his failed business as well, he learned not to just jump into things. When God told him it was time to launch his Savior's business again, he asked many questions just to be sure no stone was left unturned. Of course, there was the element of self-doubt too, but at least he didn't run away like Jonah. He instead asked many questions and went ahead to execute. Number 4. Great CEOs keep improving on themselves. When God told Moses to launch his Savior business, Moses gave many excuses which could have been seen as valid. However, a couple of chapters and books down the line, we see a Moses that was so confident in his calling as a savior. I agree that mistakes were made along the line, but through training and taking good advice, Moses was able to become a professional in his savior business. He was so good that his successor, Joshua, was afraid to fill his shoes. Therefore, don't disqualify yourself just because you don't have all the skills. You can start with the skills you have and improve as you go. Number 5. Great CEOs are confident in their vision. The vision that Moses had for the people of Israel was that they would move from Egypt to the promised land with the help of God. There was, however, a time that Moses disappeared for 40 days and 40 nights because he was curating laws for the Israelites. The Israelites did not know whether or not to wait for him, so they asked Moses' second in command, Aaron, to create a god for them that they would celebrate for bringing them out of Egypt to the promised land, which was against Moses' vision. But he did it anyways. Moses fought Aaron on this and destroyed the golden calf, or the god, restated the vision to the hearing of the congregation, and purged them of individuals that did not key into the vision. Number 6. Great CEOs care about their employees. While Moses was out with the chairman of the board of the Savior business, the Israelites made another god for themselves because they weren't sure if he was going to return. The chairman saw the insubordination of the people and threatened to fire everyone and start a new company with a new set of staff. But Moses pleaded on behalf of the people, even though he still gave them a stern talking to after. Because of Moses' compassion, many Israelites were still in employment after this incident. Moses preserved them. Number 7. Great CEOs hire staff that are in tune with the vision of the company. Even though we see that Moses pleaded on behalf of the Israelites before the chairman of the company, we still hear that when Moses got back to the company, he let go of those that were not in support of the vision. Having employees that are not aligned with your company's vision is a risk you do not want to take, as it can cause disaccord and confusion within the company. It's also dangerous to your company's brand. Number 8. Great CEOs delegate. At first, Moses did all the leadership work by himself and was usually so worn out and stressed. His father-in-law then advised him to delegate some of his tasks, and not only did it make him less stressed, it also saved his time and the time of the Israelites. It helped empower the delegates and made them more responsible too. What people fail to realize is that delegation is less about the power that comes with the CEO and more about empowering the staff or making the customer experience better. Great CEOs, therefore, delegate. Moses was clearly great, and you can be great too if you take some lessons from him. If you would like to book a session for leadership trainings for yourself or leaders in your organizations, kindly send an email to info@fullcircle.com with the subject being leadership training. Be informed that this would come at an extra cost.